Greetings, children all over the world. This is yours truly, Femi the Storyteller, and I'm back with another story. Actually, this is a series of stories. Title of this book is called The People Could Fly. The People Could Fly. American Black Folk Tales told by Virginia Hamilton, illustrated by Leo and Diane Dillon. The People Could Fly. Let's jump right into the introduction, shall we? As always, before we begin, I do not own the rights to this story, these stories, or any of these pictures within. Introduction. Folk tales take us back to the very beginnings of people's lives, to their hopes and their defeats. American Black folk tales originated with peoples, most of whom long ago were brought from Africa to this country against their will. These peoples were torn from their individual cultures as they left the past, their families and their social groups, and their languages and customs behind. The Black peoples are coming to America before the end of the Civil War entered as slaves, and they were separated and isolated by law because of their race. The African in them was forcibly suppressed by the white slave owners. They were not supposed to speak their own languages. The slave owners made them speak American English, but forbade them to learn to read or write it. They were compelled to do hard labor and exhorted never to run away. Alone and helpless, the slaves lived under conditions as brutal as any group of people has ever endured. It is amazing that the former Africans could ever smile and laugh, let alone make up riddles and songs and jokes and tell tales. As slaves, they were forced to live without citizenship, without rights as property, like horses and cows, belonging to someone else. But no amount of hard labor and suffering could suppress their powers of imagination. Out of the contacts the plantation slaves made in their new world, combined with memories and habits from the old world of Africa, came a body of folk expression about the slaves and their experiences. The slaves created tales in which various animals, such as the rabbit, fox, bear, wolf, turtle, or terrapin, snake, and possum, took on the characteristics of the people found in the new environment of the plantation. The rabbit, known as Brabby, and later called Brr, Buh, or Brr Rabbit, became a particular favorite of the slave tellers. Rabbit was small and apparently helpless compared to the powerful bear, the wily fox, and the ferocious wolf. But the slave teller made the rabbit smart, tricky, and clever, the winner over larger and stronger animals. Still, Brr Rabbit sometimes got into trouble, just as the slaves did, which made him seem all the more human. To the slaves, the rabbit came to be identified with themselves, which makes these tales highly unusual in the animal folklore genre. Later on, probably after the Civil War, a slave character, usually called John, often took the place of Brer Rabbit in the tales. John became the trickster hero who outwits Old Mass, the slave owner, and wins his freedom. A group of slave narratives that were true tales of escape also developed, as did tales of magic, fantasy, escape tales, and supernatural tales. In the Cape Verde Islands off the coast of West Africa, slavery was abolished in 1876. Black Portuguese fishermen freely emigrated from the islands to America, and they were unique in that they too had a history of slavery. They brought with them their highly individual folk tales, some of which are included in this collection. Black folk tales were first recorded in the late 19th century. In 1880, journalist Joel Chandler Harris collected some of the oral literature of the slaves in Uncle Remus, his songs and his sayings. Many Americans' first exposure to Black folktales came through the character of elderly Uncle Remus, the slave who had favored position on the old plantation. Harris's Uncle Remus told animal tales in fractured English to the little white boy of the plantation house. But author Harris was not concerned with reproducing exactly the tales or their language. Harris and his contemporaries used phonetic dialect as a literary device. They felt that an exaggerated colloquial language best symbolized what they regarded as the quaint appeal of lowly rural people. Thus, some of the folk tales recorded by early collectors are much more difficult to read than the narratives in the form of letters and petitions that some slaves managed to write themselves. But gradually, collectors attempted to express the tales in a more realistic, readable fashion. When Black English, such as Gullah, Angola English, was used, a glossary was added. The tales in this collection are in 4 sections that represent the main body of Black folktales. I use a reasonably colloquial language or dialect, depending on the folktale. Moderate colloquialisms are understandable and readable. They reflect the expressiveness of the original slave teller and later the free Black storyteller. Remember that these folktales were once a creative way for an oppressed people to express their fears and hopes to one another. They lend themselves well to being read out loud, as they were told out loud so long ago. They can be enjoyed by young and old alike. Remember also that these tales, like all folk tales, belong to all of us. They are part of our American tradition and part of the history of our country. They show you how I tell the Black folk tales, for they are told in my own voice, echoing the voices of slaves and fugitives, some of whom are my ancestors. To this very day, folk tales are being told, altered, retold, and made. A tale naturally changes as it is told by one person to another. These tales were created out of sorrow, but the hearts and minds of the Black people who formed them, expanded them, and passed them on to us were full of love and hope. We must look on the tales as a celebration of the human spirit. Remember the voices from the past, as do the folk tales. Keep close all the past that was good and that remains full of promise. Written by Virginia Hamilton. Yellow Springs, Ohio, April 1985. So once again, this is the introduction that I've read to this series of folk tales. The People Could Fly. Excuse me. The People Could Fly. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll dive right in. The first set of folk tales is He Lion, Bruh Bear, and Bruh Rabbit, and other animal tales. So that'll be the first set of folk tales that we'll dive into when I come back. See you soon. Feminist Storyteller, signing off.